Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Football Manager experiment, where today we're taking a look at something a bit different. What if Man United would get relegated? Now, with that said, it is more interesting to look at how Football Manager would perceive United how they do, rather than how they actually would do. I don't think Man United will get relegated, even with a bit of a poor start to the season. But it would be interesting to see what would happen to their players. Where would they go? Now, what I've done is I took hold of Man United and got them relegated. Got 2 points all season. Drawing against Brighton and Everton, and lost 36, and some big losses as well. Minus 228 goal difference, so their morale's in the mud, let's say that. I did it by having a fantastic formation like that, so quite the formation for sure. Otherwise it's the same team. I don't think any players have left or anything. It should be just the same thing. We made sure that all the contracts got renewed at the start of the season. But otherwise, that is pretty much it. There is an updated team as much as we could do. But yeah, that's pretty much where it's at. You've got the likes of Casemiro in there. Alex Telles hasn't moved on loan, but he's returned, I guess you could say, in this instance. But yeah, there you go. We'll just see how they get on in the Championship, because obviously they'll be predicted to come top. But I want to see how the transfers would work, how they would get on in the Prem, other competitions. Would they do well? And then if they do, or when they do get promoted back to the Premier League, can they get back into where they were, or will it take a bit of time? It'll be interesting to see. So let's jump ahead and see how things go. So the first thing I've done is just jumped a little way in. So we get past the kind of first transfer window. We can see Man United are already top. 2 wins there, both against Luton and Cardiff, 3-0 and 2-0. So pretty comfortable in the end. We can see they've still got the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, which I can't see happening. Casemiro, Luke Shaw. They brought in Pablo Mari. So they've been signing players. Let's take a look at the transfer history then. So we can see they've spent £70 million. Pablo Mari coming in, Bulat from Dynamo, Pellegrini from Torino, and Parisi from Empoli, and Axel Swan-Zabe has gone to Crystal Palace. So, I mean, as you can see, nothing's really happened other than Casemiro coming in. Okay, interesting. That's not quite what I'd have expected. I'd have thought there'd be a complete kind of outgoings of players. We can see Wayne Rooney is manager as well. So obviously Ten Hag would have been sacked if they got relegated and all this stuff. So I was manager. So I removed myself, and they've brought in Wayne Rooney, which is an interesting one. Obviously was at Derby, moved to DC United to manage them. So very, very interesting. Would be good to see how he gets on in the Prem as well, actually. He should comfortably win the league, especially if he's managed to keep hold of these players. So let's jump ahead to the end of the season and see how it goes. So as probably expected, Man United ran riot with the league. They won the league by, 18 points. Over Sheffield United, who are in second. A comfortable win. Only losing 3 times all season against Millwall, Sheffield United and West Brom. So interesting to see how they've got on, but not surprising in the least. They've maybe brought in some more players as well. I don't know if anyone's gone out, but let's take a look. So we can see this season, 113 million spent, 32 million pounds brought in. We can see the likes of Musa Wage getting brought in from HNK Gorsia, interesting, for 3.8 million. Oliver Skip on loan from Tottenham, Calvin Stengs from Nice, Rochette from Nacional, and Kondogbia from Atletico Madrid. The incomings for funds, Christian Eriksen and Dean Henderson went off to Newcastle on permanent deals. Lisandro Martinez went to Bournemouth, Alex Telles to Sheffield United, Tahith Chong to PSV, Fred to Norwich, Dermot Mee to Plymouth, Galbraith went to Linfield on a free, and then there were a few loans as well. But looking at this, it's interesting to see that they've not made any money. Like, Lisandro Martinez would have come in for a good chunk of money, and he's gone for 3.2 to Bournemouth. So I don't know if that's brought down the players they've brought in, but yeah, looking at the players they've obviously still got some fantastic players. Ronaldo being one of them. De Gea's not bad. Casemiro as well as Varane. So Rashford as well. Van de Beek, Sancho. So they should be fine when they come up, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes, especially looking at this squad that they've got here. Rooney's obviously still manager and in control of the club. Let's take a look at their schedule, though. How did they get on in any other cups? So Carabao Cup, it looks like they got to the semi-final, only losing 1-0 to Man City. And then in the FA Cup, they reached the 4th round, losing in extra time to Brentford. So not overly surprising, but looks like they've absolutely dominated the league. I'm a bit disappointed that they haven't sold a bunch of their players, to be quite honest. But there you go. It'll be interesting to see how they get on. So we'll jump ahead 1, maybe 2 years and see how they get on back in the Prem. If they're back up to the top of the table, or if it's kind of a reset for them and they're going to have to work their way up again. So we are only a year on, and yeah, they're back to normal. They're 6th. So I guess you can say that's back to normal. They're in the Europa Conference League 2. They've lost Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney's no longer at the club. I don't know what's happened there. Was he sacked, or... Yeah, looks like that was me resigning because I just got them relegated. But Rooney got sacked. Interesting. Interesting decision. Then Sergio Conceição came in after the caretaker left. But 4-4-2 is the new formation they're going for. Let's take a look at those transfers. Has things in... 63 million pounds being spent. Tete, Prokin, Pinamonti, Bar, Fafana, Pramberg and O'Day all coming in. I mean, they're not spending on massive players. I mean, they're more players. They look like they've been thought about a little bit. Do you know what I mean? There's a bit of age-related stuff there, which is hopefully going to help them in the long run. But we can see here, £79 million sold, 61 million for Marcus Rashford. Ronaldo went to AC Milan for 5.5, Wagay to Bournemouth for 5, Brandon Williams to Middlesbrough, Mengi to Hull, Lindelof to Brentford, Will Fish to Bournemouth, Reece Bennett, Pulowski, Phil Jones, Vitek all leaving on a free, and a few more loans in there. So it's quite clear that they've still got a bit of pull, but maybe not quite as much as they'd had previously. And I mean, selling of players, they're not making any money back whatsoever. But finishing in 6th, it does mean they've got Europe next season. So we'll jump ahead again and see how they get on back in Europe. But we can see that they've reached the Carabao Cup final in their first season back in the Prem, losing to Chelsea 2-0. And actually, it looks like they got to the semi-final of the FA Cup as well, losing 2-1 to Villa. So I mean, it's back to normal business by the looks of it. Nothing new. Little bit disappointed. It would have been nice to see a bit of difference. But I guess when we've seen the likes of Juventus get relegated, it was a long time ago now, when they got relegated due to issues, they bounced straight back up and kind of back on the flow of things straight away. So I guess that would be the case for someone as big as Manchester United. But let's jump ahead again, see how things go and if there's any more interesting developments. So we've actually jumped a couple of years on just to see if there is any further. I mean, Man City and Liverpool are just winning the league every season, so that's boring. But we can see Arsenal are fighting for them a bit more. But Man United are in 9th, so they didn't quite manage to get right back into it. Well, they kind of are back where they were because they weren't doing great beforehand. But in Football Manager terms, you'd expect them to be top of the table, wouldn't you, really? Because that's just how it works with Football Manager. But Lorenzo Luca and Andrea Bellotti are the top strikers, 2 Italians in there, so that's interesting to see. Sancho, Casemiro, Fernandez, Tete in the midfield, with Shaw, Inacio, Coates and Singo, and David De Gea in goal. Still got Sergio Conceição in as manager, so that's interesting to see. We can see, though, looking at the transfers, that's what I'm looking for, going back a season, we see they brought in £185 million they spent. Wow. Bellotti from Villa, Barbosa from Flamengo, Senzio from PSG, Odreros from Sampdoria, Litvinov from Spartak Moscow, Coates from Sporting, Singo from Torino. I mean, that's kind of crazy. 128 million brought in though as well. Matheus Nunes to Madrid, Bissaka to Arsenal for 31. Calvin Stengs, Kondogbia, Ennis, Aliano Garnacho, Laird, Anthony Martial going on a free, and then a few more loans as well. So interesting to see that. And then another, again, 94 million this time. Gabia, Luca, De Casero, Inacio Tienchu, and Vivacqua coming in. Hannibal leaving. Varane going to Shakhtar for 30 million. Shola Shortire leaving on loan. Parissa permanent. Alanga out on loan still. So they are bringing in players, they are moving players on, but it doesn't look like too much, really. The season before, how did they get on? Again, they were outside. It looks like they might have won a cup competition, though, because they got Europa Cup. So we will take a look at their schedule. We'll jump back one season first. We can see Europa Conference League. How did they get on in that? They got into Group C, obviously, and the Carabao Cup, doing well there. Again, lost in... Wow, okay, they lost that game, which is a bit of a surprise against WSG Tyrol. Lost in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup to Man City in the derby. Bit of a shame for them there. FA Cup and Conference League, they're going forward. 2-1 loss in the 5th round for the FA Cup. And then we can see they actually won the Europa Conference League, beating PSV in the final. Gabriel Barbosa getting 2 and Bruno Fernandes getting 1. So that's obviously where they've got into the Europa League that next season, because they got that win. Then we can see in the next one, there's a Zaha testimonial, which is interesting that they've chosen Man United. I guess he did play for them for a short period of time. But they were in the Europa League. We can see as we go through, how have they got on. Lost in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals to Leicester 1-0. Bit of a shame there. Did manage to get through after a replay in the FA Cup, though. Getting knocked out in the quarterfinals 2-1 in extra time. And then unfortunately lost in the Europa League in the quarterfinals to Atalanta. 1-0 in the first leg, 1-1 in the second. A bit of a poor end to the season the last month there. But in the end, not quite where they were. That's what I'd say, or where they should be, fighting for top 4. They're fighting for Europe. So I guess in that sense, they took a bit of a hit from being relegated, but not massive. They're not fighting to get promoted, and they weren't fighting to get away from that relegation. So there you go. But with that, we will leave it there. Let me know in the comments if there is any other experiments you want to see specifically, and I'll take a look at them. But of course, with that, we'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, I'll catch you in the next one.